We can hear you. We can see you. Excellent. I'm glad everything is great. Sound and view are both good. Superb. Simply great. And maybe I'll just let you know generally before our friend will be ready what we'll be talking about in today's collaboration. Today's collaboration is related to chess as a learning and teaching tool. We will be talking about the methods, the ways, the resources, explanations or understanding, and of course in the meantime, how to teach chess, how to get better at chess, how to improve at chess, and all of the things related to teaching and learning. Because our friend Martin is a great guy that is having a passion about chess, and he is teaching and learning chess at the same time because he wants to get better, and probably he will reveal what level he's going to achieve. And in the meantime, he's a great coach. He teaches chess at the club and in the Twitch as well, all of the guys who want to get better. Hello, Martin. Can we start?
Yeah, let's get started. I'm happy to be getting started.
Okay, now we officially can start, guys. Welcome everybody to both of the streams, to the ThinkerTeacher stream and the TBRun64 stream. I am happy that we can have our guest, Martin, and let's get started. How are you, Martin?
I'm doing great. I'm a little tired. I had volleyball tryouts today, and I went and helped out because I coach volleyball also. And I haven't did it for a year because of COVID, but I'll be coaching volleyball again this year. So we were doing tryouts, and all I had to do was toss the ball and get the girls to do what they're supposed to do for the drills, so people could evaluate them. And it was still tiring. Oh my gosh! So little bit tired, but but doing well.
Okay, excellent.
Hey, Anglo-Saxon has just rated us because we're both together today. Thank you for the raid, Anglo-Saxon. I really appreciate it. That was really nice of you.
Great to hear that we have such a great supporters, and we'll be talking about how to support chess instructors and chess coaches as well. But before we'll just get into that, let's start with the introduction. Can you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about yourself related to chess world, chess community, all of the things, starting with the beginning?
Sure. I find it really hard to talk about myself, but I will force myself to do so. So
we encourage you to do so. We really encourage you to do so, because this way we not only can be friends with you, we do not only can know about you more, but we need to see how all of the journey started and how the journey continues right now, and what are the changes, because it would be something like a better perspective.
Oh, gotcha.
Let's go.
So I learned chess at 8 years old, playing with my father, and I loved my father very much. And that was one of the things that he taught me. He was a great musician. He was a great person. Very, 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 very smart. Would do New York Times crossword puzzle with a pen. He's just a great guy. And a great pacifist, a lover, just a great person, right? And so my dad taught me how to play chess when I was 8. I'd play against my brother and some other, not too many other people really. And my dad would beat me every time. And my brother beat me every time for a while. And then we're a very competitive family growing up, extremely competitive. Mom was competitive, Dad was competitive. So I definitely have a lot of competitive genes in me, and I went about beating my brother as soon as I could. And I quickly got better than my brother. Played in tournaments all the way up till about 16, 17 years of age. I was playing in tournaments. One of my great fame things that I did was one of my early tournaments, I got to play against a grandmaster. I was playing in the open section, sat down, and the director says, "Oh, and just everybody, just want to let you know, we have grandmaster," and I don't remember the guy's name. I don't. "We have grandmaster, so-and-so, playing on board 1. And, and he's like, and so I stood up and waved because I was a smart aleck kid. And of course the director immediately said, no, that's just Klubeck. That's that Klubeck guy. That's not the grandmaster. Of course, guys, come on, we know. Sit down." So that was my first claim to fame on that venue. I went into the military, spent 20 years in the Air Force, played chess while I was in the Air Force. Every place I moved to, if it didn't have a vibrant chess club where I went, I started one. So every town I would move to in the military, because you move a lot, I would start a chess club if they didn't have one. and
Excellent.
I just always gravitated towards that. My whole life, I've gravitated towards teaching. My in-laws
Wow.
always told me, "You should be a teacher. You should be a teacher." They have
Mm-hmm.
teachers in their family, so they thought I should be a teacher. But I was in the military, so I
Uh-huh.
wasn't going to leave the military to become a teacher. But I figured, when I retire out of the military,
Yeah.
20 years, I might do that because I love, love, love teaching. Retired
Mm-hmm.
out of the military, got a job pretty quick at the university, not teaching, and
Oh.
continued to do that because I also have, I guess I'm an eclectic person. And by that I mean I write. I've written
Mm-hmm.
6 nonfiction books, business improvement books. I've written
Wow.
now 5 short stories and one novel the novel I have to still looking to get published, but the 5 short stories are out there already on Amazon for people to buy and read. I'm an artist. I went to art vocational high school, and so I take my
Wow.
kids. I only have one at home anymore, but we go off and we do chalk drawings at like church or at a function. We'll sneak out, do a chalk drawing, an elaborate chalk drawing on the sidewalk, and then disappear so nobody knows we did it. So I still do art. I do writing. I do chess. I coach. I love coaching because it's teaching, right? Somebody
Mm-hmm.
asked me recently, what's the difference between teaching and coaching? And I said, for me,
Yeah.
teaching is I do a lesson. You guys come,
Mm-hmm.
anybody can listen, anybody can hear it, anybody can get whatever I'm trying to get across, but it's one to many teaching. Coaching
Yeah.
is where I work one on one normally. I could do it with an organization, but you work one on one normally. And your idea there is you're looking for specific things to help that person. It's very personalized. You're not teaching theory. You're not pulling out a textbook and saying, go read chapter 5, 6, 7, because you're actually working directly with them, on whatever they need. So it could be personal life coaching, it could be business coaching, it could be career coaching, it could be volleyball coaching, it could be chess coaching. So I've always loved teaching. I get a total high, a kick out of seeing somebody's light bulb go off in their head that they go, I got it. And when I
Yeah.
can ever make that happen, that's euphoria for me. That's the best feeling I get is when I see that light bulb or hear that light bulb go off and I know that they get a new concept, a new thought, that something clicked for them, and that's my enjoyment. So I love teaching. A good friend of mine, Chess Wizard, I call him a good friend, but he's a kid, so he has to call me Mr. Klubeck, by the way. Or they
Yeah.
call me coach, or they call me professor, because I'm ex-military, so you don't call people by their first name if they're 3 times older than you. It's
Yeah.
not. It's not. People think it's like, man, you don't want that kid to call you by your first name because you think he doesn't respect you. And I go, actually, no, it's nothing about that. It's
Yeah.
about if he's calling me, if he's 15 and he's going to call me by my first name, I'm not his. I'm not 15. I'm not his best friend. I'm not his buddy. I am an adult figure, and I need to make sure that I still represent and do what I'm supposed to do as an adult figure to give him a good example. And
Uh-huh.
it's really hard to do that if they're calling you by your first name. So even
Yeah.
when I teach any chess class, when I coach volleyball, they all can call me Mr. K, Coach K. They cannot call me by my first name. And it's funny
Yeah.
because I make the parents do the same thing because I say it's unfair if the parents were calling me by my first name and the kids would be hearing it, they'll get confused like, who's that? Oh, you mean Coach K? And they'll start calling me by
Yeah.
my first name, and then I'll be giving them grief because I'll be like, no, 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 not until you're an adult. You're not calling me by my first name. Where, you know,
Mm-hmm.
so that's I think that answers your question.
Yeah, fully, fully. It's great introduction, and I'm really glad that you started with this, let's say, very high level introduction, because you just connected all of the things I want to ask you a little bit later. But even though if you started this earlier, it's okay because now we can just join different perspective. What about running chess club and what about attending chess club? Because this is one of the key questions that all of the people who are getting into the chess world are asking all of the times. And that's why I am super grateful and happy that you are with us, because you, as far as I know, run the chess club. Maybe I'll just briefly tell our viewers that I ran chess club with my friend for 6 years, but I needed to quit due to the financial reasons and due to the lack of development of the, let's say, organization. Therefore, I just needed to quit. But I am super grateful that you can share the perspective and the experience, because I am a little bit, let's say, familiar with this, and I am super happy to know about it more.
Yeah, so I love teaching, I love coaching. And so chess gives me a way to do a lot of that, right? I mean, I get to teach and coach chess. Whenever I went to an area, since chess is one of my pastimes I enjoy, I always try to find a way to teach or spend time with chess. And if you go into the city and you say, "Hey, do you have a chess club that I can attend?" No, we don't have any chess club in our city or our town. I'm like, oh, okay. I would go find a way to start one. I got pretty good at it. Libraries are usually a really great place. If you in your small town or big town don't have a chess club, go to your local library. They're always looking for programs and activities. When I moved to the small town that I'm at in Michigan right now, and I went there and they had no chess club. And I just went to the library and I said, "Hey, what do you guys think? Would you be interested if we had a chess club?" And they were, "Yeah, that'd be great. Terrific. Yeah, what do we have to do?" They gave me enough money to buy chess sets. We bought paper boards. They had paper boards still then. This was about 20 years ago. I started it, maybe 18 years ago, 18 to 20 years ago. So I bought paper boards and we bought like 2 dozen because they were like 20 cents a piece. And if you went through the United States Chess Organization, they gave you good discounts if you're starting a club. So we bought tons of pieces. And then someone bought like lunch boxes, not lunch box, like a pencil box where you put pencils and erasers. And we put all the chess pieces. They fit perfectly, a whole set, black and white, in one box. So we have like 15 boxes of these chess sets. And then they gave us a little rolling thing that we put the boxes in. So it was great. We paid for affiliation with the United States Chess Federation for the club. And I did that every place I went also, because I always want the kids, when I'm teaching them how to play chess, I want them to play in tournaments as early as possible. I want to get over the fear and the stigma of playing in a tournament. You know, there's a lot of stress the first time you play in a tournament. And a lot of our OOPs, I call them OOPs, online only players that got fascinated with chess from Twitch, from the Queen's Gambit TV movie serial series. Now, after COVID, are going to go play over the board for the first time and play in a tournament for the first time. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of stress. So I want these kids playing from day one if I can get them there. So I always affiliate, and I did it with this club here. So we got USCF affiliation. For being a tournament director, to be a club director requires nothing except to buy and have a copy of the rule book with you, and then apply to be a club director. And so easy breezy. I've played enough tournaments. I got the rule book. So I run a tournament every first Saturday a month. Every month we run a tournament, and I try to do it 30-minute and 0 seconds. Because when we started, there were no increments on the clocks, but that's okay. But also 30 minutes allows me to do 3 rounds in about 3 hours, so I can still get home, right? Because I have a life. But
of course.
So the chess club is a way to introduce people to chess, to help out, to meet the community, to play chess, and to teach chess. And so I do that, and then I've been teaching chess in real life, one way or the other, either as part of the club. I teach for free on those days, and I also teach in real life to homeschool students. So there's a partnership that you could do that. So I've been teaching chess and coaching chess and running chess clubs probably for about 40 years. Just all
40
different
years?
places. Yeah, easily. 20 years in the Air Force, every place I went I did it. And then 20 years now, retired from the Air Force, coming up to 20 years, I've been doing it. So yeah, roughly, I safe bet 35 years.
Pretty impressive, I would say, because even if I expected that you will say something like 20, 25, because it is the mark career, I just have been playing chess for 25 years. And if you said 40, it sounds like, oh my goodness, this guy is much more dinosaur than me.
Yes, I am a dinosaur. Yes.
Oh, excellent. And maybe let's talk about chess club, about the, let's say, atmosphere at chess club and the activities. Because a lot of players who are OOP, as you just mentioned, the players with the, let's say, acronym online only players, are a little bit worried what they, let's say, can learn at the chess club and what activities they can perform. Therefore, it would be great if you could just, let's say, describe some of the most important and most often activities you can do at the chess club and how it looks like when you are getting into the chess club for the first time. What you should have, what you should ask, how does it feel like? Do you join to the group with the kids, with the seniors, with the, let's say, categories? How does it feel like? And if you could just describe the chess club life, if I can say that,
Yeah.
with the perspective, especially the person who will get into the club for the first time. Something like encouragement, okay?
Yeah, it's different everywhere, right? Each club is different.
Mm-hmm.
Each country is different. Even in the United States, every club, every city, it's different. We have a club that's close by in South Bend / Elkhart. Those are towns in Indiana. I'm in a state 8 minute drive, no, 8 miles, 20-minute drive away, where we have our club. My club was designed for, created for students, children, but everyone plays in the club. Everyone plays in the tournaments. But when you come to the club, which is the third Saturday, because we do it first and third Saturdays, I used to do it every Saturday. My wife, smacked me upside the back of the head and said, "I don't see you on Saturdays this way," so we cut it back. First and third
Yeah.
Saturdays. The club meetings, it's open to everybody, but it's held in the kids department. So if you want to
Mm-hmm.
find our chess club, you have to go to the children's section of the library, and you
Yeah.
unfortunately have to sit on little tiny tables and little tiny seats. But otherwise, it's fine. On the first Saturday, we have our tournament, and we do that in it's a rotunda. It's a big round area. Beautiful glass windows all the way around, so everyone in the street can see what we're doing. But we have our tournament in there, and that's full-size tables and full-size chairs, so that's nice. When you go to a club, though, every club is different. So what you normally
Mm-hmm.
do is when you find out about a club, you're going to call and find out what time they meet, what days they meet. And unfortunately, most clubs don't have a consistent home. Most clubs I
Yes.
found, even the one in the town down south from me that I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about, they would be at Toys R Us, and then they moved to Meyer, and then they moved to a coffee shop, and then they moved, they never can seem to stay in one place, and that's partly because chess players are really cheap, right? We don't want to spend
Mm-hmm.
money; we want to play chess. So
Yeah.
a business like a Myers is a department store here. So you might go to the department store manager might say, yeah, you could do your chess club here, figuring well they're overall quiet, they're clean, and they'll buy stuff while they're here. Well, the 2 out of 3 is correct. We're usually
Yeah.
quiet. Usually we're clean, but we don't buy a lot. And after a
Mm-hmm.
while, the manager, after a year or two, the manager will say, no, leave. And
There are no profits, right? There are no profits.
there are no profits. So then they
Yeah.
move you. You have to find a new home for your chess club. But what I will tell you is
Yeah.
when you find the existing chess club, contact the director of the chess club. They'll have a director, person who
Mm-hmm.
runs the chess club, the person who makes it happen. Contact the
Yeah.
director, ask him when they meet, ask him, do you need to bring equipment? Because some, like ours, we have all the
Mm-hmm.
equipment you need. We have clocks, sets, pieces, boards. You don't need to bring anything. So you don't have, you
Excellent.
just show up. But others,
Mm-hmm.
others might not be that way. Others, you might have to have your own sets. You might have to have your own clocks. So contact them and see what you need to bring. Never hurts your first day at a club to walk in with an official chess carry bag with your set and your clock and your scorebook, and just even if you never open it because they already have equipment, it at least lets people know you're a serious player because you
Yeah.
have your own equipment, right? Versus
Yeah.
just
That's
walking
good.
in. The biggest problem I think I'm going to find most OOP players will run into is they think it's like they saw in the Queen's Gambit, or they think
Mm-hmm.
it's like when they watch people playing in the park. So the Botez sisters have been playing in
Yeah.
New York. They'll go play out in the park, and they'll
Some kind
play.
of chess hustlers
Yeah,
this
yeah.
way.
They're supposedly hustlers, but for the most part, the
Mm-hmm.
problem is they talk smack. And when you
Mm-hmm.
go to a club, they're going to want you to behave more like you would at a tournament where you're
Yeah.
polite and gentlemanly and ladylike, and you shake hands, and you don't talk smack. You don't say things like, "Boy,
Chess
that's
etiquette. Chess etiquette.
very nice chess etiquette."
Hmm.
We
Yeah.
want to show that chess players are nice etiquette, well-rounded, good people with good sportsmanship, right? No
Yeah.
knocking all the pieces off the board, no slamming the pieces when you leave. There's chess
No
etiquette
swearing.
online, but not everybody
Hmm.
follows their online etiquette either, right? I'm sure ThinkerTeacher, you played at least one game against somebody where you had them beat dead to rights, and they just didn't move for the next 4 minutes until the clock ran out online. And you're
Yeah.
like,
Unfortunately.
yeah,
Unfortunately.
you're like, what are you doing? And then other
Hmm.
people just disconnect. And luckily,
Yeah.
Chess, and I think chess.com does it too, but I know Chess does. You'll get a notice that says your opponent has left the game. You can claim a win in 5 seconds, type
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
nice. But yeah, people just hang up or just don't move. And imagine if
Hmm.
you were playing over the board in person and you got a losing position, you got up and walked away, and the person you're
Yeah.
playing is like, are they going to
What are
move?
you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
maybe you're playing with a clock and you have 5 minutes or 10 minutes left on your clock and you get up and walk
Yeah.
away. He's going to be like, oh, okay, well, he needs a breather. He needs to think in his head. He
Yeah.
needs to go to the bathroom and use his phone and figure out how to win this game, but he can't anyway. And then, they never, what? They're never going to come back? They go start, maybe you see them start a game with somebody else. You'd go over and
Yeah.
smack them upside the head. It's like, hey, we were playing. What are you doing? But people do this online because they don't have to face the person, right? They're not looking at the
Yeah.
person. So have good etiquette. Definitely remember it's a gentlemanly sport. It's a honorable sport. Be a good sport and enjoy the game and enjoy the people. You get to meet people. Ratchet Lodros, one of our viewers, I know he views both of us. One of the things
Yeah.
he did, which was really cool, he was telling me that he was going down and playing at his university. He just started university this year in England,
Hmm.
and he's
Yeah.
playing at the club, and he's like, oh, I'm better than all these guys. And so I was talking to the other guy. I said, so are you helping him? You teaching him or what? He goes, no, no, no. I just go to meet people and for the camaraderie because, they're not very good at chess. But that's the point.
Yeah.
You get to have camaraderie. You get to talk to people. Tra-
Definitely.
Patro, yes, you could talk trash at home to your kids. Yeah, don't do it to strangers. It's just not cool.
Yeah, definitely. And maybe let's talk a little bit about this chess etiquette and if this perspective of transforming chess from the on the board into online, but something like a very intense one. Because 20 years ago, nobody plays online except some of the, let's say, freaks, if I could say that, with the very dedicated players who could have something like, let's say, friends with technology that they know how to connect, how to type the comments, and so on, right?
Yeah.
And therefore, let's talk about, let's say, how the chess grows for the last, let's say, 20 years, especially with perspective of on-the-board player and online community, how this transform into each other and how it progresses over the years.
Yeah, and it's changed drastically, right? Because you have something in your pocket now called a computer, which you didn't have
Yeah.
to have. You didn't used to have in your pocket, and that one in your pocket can connect you to chess.com, to Chess, to a myriad of other sites. You have the ability, every one of us, to have a computer giving us answers in your pocket or in your hand. 20 years
Mm-hmm.
ago, there wasn't that. You could spend a lot of money. You could spend a lot of money and get a chess database or a chess engine for your desktop computer. I'm not even going to say laptop at the time, for your desktop
Yeah.
computer so you could study chess. So only, like you said, the diehards that really wanted to put in all the money and get way. But now it's almost too easy. I worry. I don't worry at all about chess suffering from computers being too good. I worry
Mm-hmm.
about chefs suffering because there's so much. It makes it too easy almost for everyone to get all this information to get. So as an example, I have a lot of students now who want to play trappy openings because they can go
Yeah.
find a YouTube video on opening X, Y, or Z, go
Mm-hmm.
spring it on their opponents and win quick and easy. And they can win
Yeah.
like 9 out of 10 games with this opening if their opponent falls for the trap, which may happen, 50% of the time. So they're winning a ton of games. Their rating blows up, gets really high, and they're feeling really good about themselves. but they don't even know basic end games. They don't know basic almost anything. Thank you for the follow. They just they don't know basic chess. They don't know good chess, and so
Sound chess, we can say, right? Sound chess, right?
yeah, they don't know sound chess. They don't even know understand middle game principles. All they understand is they've memorized some lines and openings and they're winning games. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
same type of mentality, which is it's just bad, that same type of mentality also falls to those people that also like to cheat at chess. I mean, that's
Yeah,
crazy to me. But we have so much more cheating now because people, everybody's playing online, and you have
yeah,
it's just so available. And I also have viewers and students who, and I think of them all as the same, but who like worry about their rating to the point that I'm not going to play any rated games today because I got my rating up to 2,000. I don't want to drop any point. And it's like, wait, you're talking about your online rating? Yeah,
yeah.
that means nothing, right? I mean, you could
Mm-hmm.
go from chess.com and get one set of rating. You could go to Elite Chess, get some more ratings. You can go to another site and get some other ratings. Yeah, none of those are like used by any governing body anywhere. It's not like even the United States Chess Federation. It's not FIDE. It's not used for anything. It's just fun. It's now I do have all my students play all their games rated because they could see improvement over time because it's a
Yeah,
measure, right? If they play all casual, they don't see if they're getting better. But that's all. I don't want them to get wrapped around the rating where they're scared to lose rating points. So, and everybody, I hear so many people talking about, yeah, I dropped 30 points. I'm really bummed out.
yeah,
Why? Why do you care? I don't care if I drop 1,000 points if I'm having fun and playing chess and learning. But anyway, so yeah, I think that over the last 20 years with technology, it's gotten immensely different and wow, there's just so much out there, so much material. I just hope it isn't like other things, where it's the fad and it's a fad for a while and then it dies. Now, I think chess was a fad, got really exciting with Bobby Fischer in the United States anyway, in the late 70s, beginning to late 70s. Bobby Fischer made chess really cool, right? Everybody wants to play chess. That
mm-hmm.
petered out and dipped down back to not to the same level. It always had an increase because of him. I think because of COVID, because of all the online stuff, because of PogChamps and everything else, and Twitch allowing to do streaming now, more ways for people to connect. I get to play with somebody in Poland, right? I get to play
Yeah,
with somebody in Portugal. I get to play with somebody in Spain and in Greece, and it's awesome. In England, right? I could play with people all over the world. So there's a
yeah,
lot of benefits to these things, and I just think it's we're getting up to this high level where thousands of people are learning chess that didn't play chess before. Hundreds of thousands of people are OOPs, and there's probably going to be a dip back down. It'll never get lower, it's so low, but I think there's going to get to be a point where it's not as exciting and as hot a thing in the future. Yeah, but I mean,
yeah,
I still love it. It's a great game.
yeah.
It's a great game.
Yeah, I agree. I fully agree, and I am pretty much shocked how much, as you just mentioned, information, how much resources we have right now, and what was 20 or 25 years ago. Because maybe I'll just mention briefly that 25 years ago I started collecting chess books, and there was something like 3 or 4 books in the market related to chess. 3 to 4, not 300, not 3,000, 3 to 4 that were available at the market. And most of these books were some like a basics, right? Some how to play chess, and one of the books a little bit more advanced. But that's it. No more of that. You need to go to the tournament to play against any other players to find out where will be the next tournament, right? There was no something like a, let's say, a website that you can, let's say, put the information, and you just in a nanosecond you can just find out all of the tournaments around your city, around your region, or around the country, right? There's no something like that. And in the meantime, the engines were just popping up, right? The engines were something like, oh, this is something like a UFO, right? We know that it exists, but nobody can see that, right? Except some kind of professionals. And back then, it was pretty shocking because most of the people would not be able to, let's say, advance into the, let's say, average level if they didn't play on the board, right? We didn't have servers, we didn't have the databases, we didn't have sparring partners that we could play online 24 hours a day and night, right? And now we have some kind of boom. And
Gigantic
now
boom.
let's, yeah,
Yeah, you're
and now
talking
let's get,
about, and you're talking about the difference, and this is weird to me. So the U.S. Chess Federation, when you join the federation, by the way, every one of my students that takes the class, we give them a free U.S. Membership, and we
yeah,
want them to play in a tournament, so we pay for their membership. But inside of chess life, you have like the tournament life listing, and
mm-hmm,
it's still multiple pages of tournaments that you can look through to read, oh, this tournament in this state, which is actually ridiculous. Talking about a waste of paper and effort for them to put it, it should just have a link to the web page because
yeah, just the link, everybody can check it out,
yeah,
right?
because this is ridiculous because basically you go in here and you say, oh, Niagara Falls Open. Well, I live in California. I'm not flying out to Niagara Falls for a small tournament. You know, why am I
Yeah,
looking, why am I seeing that in my magazine, right? The only people that want to see
mm-hmm,
that are probably close enough to drive to it. And so
yeah,
I'm talking about my own, national organization is behind the
mm-hmm,
times because they're still putting this in print, which is, like I
yeah.
said, kind of ridiculous.
Yeah,
Um,
I guess it's the ancient times behavior, something like a habit, right? Because back then I remember that I bought the magazine something like 18 or 20 years ago, and there was the announcements of other tournaments. Why? Because we didn't have the database, we didn't have such a free access as right now, and probably this is the behavior from the ancient times. That's my explanation.
and we still then have a phone in our pocket, a computer in our
Yeah,
pocket. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, big difference. And now we do. And now it's so yeah, I find it humorous. I do find it also humorous how many people so as a side, you just made me realize think about it. People think they know everything because they've watched a video. They think
yeah.
they know how to win games because they watched a video. They know openings. Oh, I don't know how many people will get on my stream and go, yeah, I know the King's Gambit or any opening, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I know the King's Gambit. I'll go, really? You know it?
Yeah,
Yeah, I know the King's
yeah,
Gambit. And I go, okay, so you have a book, right? You have a book on the King's Gambit and
yeah,
you've studied it. You understand the theory behind it. Yes, you understand all the lines that go with it. And I don't even care if you haven't memorized, because if you say you know the opening, you're going to tell me you understand the concepts and the theories and the plans for this opening. And they go, no, I watched a YouTube video and I know this trappy main line, and they're done. They know one line and they say they know the opening. So it's humorous to me how we get these different levels of understanding, and where people think there's a certain level of strength, right? That they know chess and they know an opening or they know other things, and really it's just that they have so much information available that they get misled sometimes and thinking they know more than they do. I know I
yeah,
don't know a lot. I think one of the first steps to learning, to being a good student, is to
yeah.
realize how little we know
Mm-hmm.
versus the opposite, thinking we know it all.
Yeah. And what about this information, let's say, workload, or even unresolved is called that TMI, too much information, right? Some like information overload, because we have a lot of resources, and what is super important, especially free. Because back then, if we just started playing chess, there were some resources, but all of these were paid, right? Something like you need to pay to get this resource. Nowadays, we can just count, let's say, at least 20 or 30 channels, I mean, chess YouTube channels, that you have hundreds of videos. Probably if you start watching right now, just the videos that produced the chess content up to this time, you will need something like 10 years to watch all of this, right? Without even releasing right now, just stop and just collect them. And for the rest, let's say 10 years, you need to watch it day by night. And for the 10 years, you will need to have the chess knowledge, huge chess knowledge, right?
Yeah, no, totally agree. It's we have it's disgusting the amount of riches of information we now have. You have a beautiful bookshelf behind you with all your books, and a bookshelf to your left. I had nothing near that. I had probably half of one of those bookshelves of chess books, and I did the Marie Kondo thing where I try to limit and get rid of stuff I don't use. So I looked at all my
Mm-hmm.
chess books and I said, okay, I have at least more than half of those chess books I haven't looked at in 10 years. So I took them
Oh.
down to the library. We took them down to the
Mm-hmm.
library and we put them on a shelf, a rolling shelf that we bring out for every chess club and every tournament. And they're called read and return books. And other
Mm-hmm.
people donate to it too. And what a read and return book is, you don't have to have a library card. You don't have to check the book out. In fact, you can't.
Yeah.
You just take the book off the shelf and it has a label like that, read and return. I don't know
Okay.
if it's too bright.
Yeah.
But anyway, you just grab the book, take it home, and if you ever return it, awesome. If you forget to ever return it, we don't care. But it's read and return.
Uh-huh.
So read it, return it whenever you want. Just
Mm-hmm.
take it. And so it was a way for me to share that chess knowledge in books with
Yeah.
other people that might not even have a library card, right? For whatever reason, they can
Mm-hmm.
go ahead and at least get some books. I gave them like stacks of my old Chess Life magazines, but also just really good books that they can take off that shelf and go home and read and check out, right? They can. So it's sharing knowledge. It's helping other people. I love helping people, but I love especially teaching and coaching, helping people.
Yeah.
That light, I want to see that light bulb go off. That's really my goal.
Mm-hmm. Ah, excellent, excellent. And we are just, let's say, talking about the different threads and different topics. I really like it. And maybe let's take into the topic of learning. How do you think this is the most efficient to learn chess? And if you just, let's say, explain us something like a basic program or some kind of curriculum, especially related to chess people who are a little bit older than the kids, right? Something like 16 to 18, and they didn't have the chance to be friends with chess when they are kids or teenagers, and they are something like close to adults. How would they, let's say, start chess with the most efficient way?
Yeah,
Go on.
I've got to give a quick shout out to Montague who just subscribed to my channel. So you're talking about learning and how do we do learning and how does all that fit? And I will tell you that one of the things that thanks again, Montague. But one of those things is study, right? We have to study. We
Mhm.
have to study
Yeah,
games of masters. We have to study principles, and I teach principles. I know you teach principles too, right? And one of the
yeah,
things that first attracted me to your stream was that you were showing at the time a bunch of what I'll call principles to
yeah,
to whoever your viewers were, and you had your I think six steps or six things that you wanted. And
yeah.
I think a little differently than you, but what you did resonated with me. And so what I have is a list of principles, and I'm up to 41, and I go back to them and play
Mm-hmm.
with them every once in a while. And so I came up
Yeah,
with 41 general chess principles that you should learn. And while I was looking at those 41 principles, some are obvious, easy, you got them down pat. Rules, you need to know
yeah.
the rules, like what is en passant, and you need to
Mm-hmm.
know basic piece values. Why? So that you
Yeah.
can know if a trade is equal or not in general, right? Even in general.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, those are two basic things that almost everyone that even comes to a stream, they already know the rules and they already know the piece values. This isn't always true with everyone, though. I just ran our tournament on Saturday, and I got one of the dads, two of the dads actually, signed up and played with the six kids.
Yeah.
And one of the dads had never played an over the board tournament. And I said, everybody know all the rules. I went over some basic stuff like legal castling, not castling, and touching the clock. What if you touch a piece, all that stuff. And I said, and en passant, and the dad's child, the boy, says, "Oh, you don't know that one, Dad." He says, wait. I knew it. I just don't remember it anymore. But I did know it. And so I had to show them what en passant is. So sometimes even the basic rules. Now, okay. But then how do we get better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anglo-Saxon, another streamer in our team, in our
Yeah.
streamer team, he's like he's on a search right now trying to find the fastest way to improve. That's like his thing he's trying to do. And I feel like telling him, come and visit me, I'll show you, because it's not overly fast, but you have to do some steps. And I noticed that these principles are either ignored or followed as they get better, right? As a very beginner, you
Mm-hmm.
miss free candy all the time. My beginners that I'm teaching, the really big problem is they give away free candy left and right, and of course they don't take free candy when it's offered. So that's a
Yeah.
basic beginning for me. Basic checkmates. I have seen
Mm-hmm.
players, no kidding, online. I've watched games online where they basically got over 50 moves, right? Or did a 3 move repetition eventually because they didn't know how to checkmate with nothing else on the board. And they had a king and a queen against the king. And
Oh.
they kept the king where their king never moved. And they tried to
Mm-hmm.
checkmate that piece with just a queen. In
Yeah.
my
Impossible.
tournament I just gave,
Mm-hmm.
there's a game going on, and they traded down to where the young man, he's a student, he's a young man, he's just learning. So I'm not giving him a hard time, but he had a king and a bishop, and he's
Yeah.
trying to checkmate the his opponent who had a king. Nothing else left on the board, and I had
Yeah.
to come over and tell him that's not a theoretical draw. That is a total draw. It is. I said you could set up the board any way you want right now and see if you could checkmate him. Just move the pieces wherever you want with a bishop and a king. You can't force. You can't even get him to help you checkmate him. It's impossible.
Definitely.
But he didn't know that, right? So these basic rules, basic checkmates. Uh, so I go through these principles. I think what we have though is right now a small problem, not a big problem, and it's not maybe even a problem. It's just it's a, it's what the world is today, right? With so much information, so many
Yeah.
YouTube videos. I agree with you. 10 years easy, and you wouldn't get through them all. Um,
Yeah.
the problem is they again learn some trappy opening. They win games. They're happy, and they don't learn a lot of the principles and the basics behind it. And then they get frustrated at some point because now they can't beat the stronger players that are destroying them because all they know is trappy openings. And they don't know basic checkmates. They don't know basic end games. They don't understand why certain moves are made. I've heard many beginning streamer chess players talking about things like, "Oh, I do this because now I got the 2 bishops," and I'm like, "You have no
Yeah.
clue what you're going to do with those 2 bishops, and your position maybe is really closed, so your positions are lousy." They could have a bishop that's totally trapped on one side of the board behind pawns, can't have any activity, but they're saying, "Hey, I'm winning because I have the bishop pair," you
Yeah.
know. Or I'm going to open this up now because, and I'm like, really, you're going to open it now? You haven't finished developing. You have nothing on those files, and why are you opening up the board? So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of basics. They hear stuff, but they don't
Yeah.
understand, and they just spout what they hear, and they don't actually learn how to use these principles to their betterment. So, but then uh, I think the best way to learn is to understand the principles for the opening, the principles for the middle game, the principles of the end game. I
Yeah.
don't want to do memorization, but I'm old,
Mm-hmm.
right? We already said I'm ancient.
Yeah.
I'm a
Yeah.
dinosaur. So some of my viewers and some of the students I teach are like 8,
Yeah.
9, 10, up to 15, 16, 17 years old. Our good friend Ratchet is, I think he's 18 or 17.
Yeah.
They have memory cells still. They can remember 5, 10 different lines and in 5, 10 different openings. And I'm like, more power to you guys. That's awesome. I still want them to learn the principles. I still want them to
Yeah.
learn correct ways to play. But, they can get easy wins. They can have an easy time sometimes because they can memorize a whole lot more than I can. I can't do that anymore.
Definitely. Definitely. And if you just, let's say, revealed this not just secret, but I would say the tendency towards the trend even towards the, let's win the game as quickly as possible, no matter the resources, no matter the approach. Let's talk about correct chess, right? What the correct chess should contain, and especially about the rules, about the thinking process, and about the, let's say, approach to the game. Because as you just revealed, a lot of players want to just learn, as Squarely even just mentioned at the chat, with, let's say, bank load opening, sometimes with the Stafford traps and so on. And they just think, I know it's ridiculous to us, but take notice that younger generation probably are pretty much, let's say, shocked. How you the hell, let's say, want to forbid this? Because you will never become good player, right? and maybe let's talk about bad habits, bad approach, and bad thinking process, and what does it contain to play with a correct approach. What is the correct approach, and how you can distinguish with the false approach. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think we again, a lot of people have the misconception of they want to win and they want to win fast, and that's the enjoyment, right? They don't really want to learn chess, and that's okay. Memorize traps, play the Stafford, play the whatever. Not a Bon Cloud, by the way. Bon Cloud is a quick way to lose.
Mm-hmm.
It fascinates me that people even think Bon Cloud is a real. I mean, it's a real opening in the sense you can play it, uh, but it was more of a joke. And it's the same way that you'll see Magnus Carlsen get online and he'll play like a 2200 or 2300, and his first 4 to 8 moves will be moving his knight out and putting it back, knight out, put it back, knight out, put it back. Why? He says, well, I'm spotting him at 8 moves, and he'll go, that's enough, and then he'll go and destroy the guy. And if you're equal, you can't do that. He's not going to do that against Anand or against even Nakamura or Wesley. He's not going to do that against the best players in the world. He's doing that against us schlubs down here that think we're awesome because we've gotten 2,300 points on Lee Chess and we think we're something special. And then he could just say, "Here, I'll give you eight moves, and then I'm going to destroy you." So you have to learn. Let me. So I think, as far as people having misconceptions about learning and getting to where they want to be, first thing is don't chase a rating, because ratings are measures. They're not a goal. A goal should be how strong you are.
Yeah.
You can have a goal of understanding things, like maybe your goal is to have a thorough understanding of like endgames, or a thorough understanding of a certain type of game or position. You want to be as strong as an IM, or you might want a title. Even then, I can understand that's a goal. But a rating at any place, a rating is really just a measure of how well you're doing compared to others at this time. And so a measure should never be your goal. A number should not be your goal. That's why weight loss, you should not have a goal of a certain amount of pounds. Now you might say, I want to be in a certain range on weight because for me it's healthier. I feel healthier. I feel good about myself when I'm at this weight range. But that's not a goal, right? Those are standards for you to work towards and live by.
Maybe some kind of checkpoints, right? Checkpoints over the journey, right?
That's right. The goal is to be healthy.
Yeah.
You've decided that my weight should be here, my blood pressure should be here, all these things should be here for me to be at this health. The goal is the health. So your goal in chess might be I want to be IM strength. Now, how do I get there? Well, one is I need to get my rating up. I need to play in tournaments. I need to win games. I need to understand all these principles. So I think the problem is half the time we don't even know what our goals are. And I've talked to the streamer team too about, as a streamer, we need to know what our goals are. I mean, we could just stream and have fun, and people could watch us play whatever games we're playing, and we'll get bored of it after a while. They get bored of us after a while. We're never really going to go anywhere with it. But if we have a goal for what we want to do with our stream, then our stream takes on a new life, and we have a purpose, and we're going to keep going towards that goal, and we're not going to quit streaming until we've achieved the goal and then decide, oh, you know what, I don't have any other goals. I'm happy. I can stop now or do something else. We need to have those goals and know where we want to go. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. It's very, very good one. Even if I just want you to a little bit extend a bit, but I'll just make a different direction a little bit. Because a lot of players nowadays are not just OOP, online only players, right? But most often they are super impatient. I'm not sure if it's just my, let's say, experience, but I guess that they may have something like problems with understanding that the game may not be won just because you are, let's say, a good at the opening and you memorize, let's say, 15 moves ahead, or maybe with the book, but you need to fight for the win because the opposition wants the same. It is a conflict, right? And it is not like something like, I'll just make some traps and he won't fall this trap, I'll just resign, right? Sometimes there was the times, because I was just a competitive player as well, that I needed to grind down the game for 4 hours for 80 to 100 moves, right? And nowadays the players can play, let's say, 50 bullets within 1 hour, or maybe 1 hour 30, right? And how can we expect that such players will be, let's say, playing correct chess or sound chess, or expect them to, let's say, invest 3 to 4 hours just to one game that they want to give themselves as best version? What about that?
Yeah, no, you're correct. First of all, I my stream knows my feelings about bullet. It's not chess.
Yeah.
It gets closer to chess when you're playing Magnus Carlsen, but I've watched Magnus Carlsen play some bullet games. I don't watch a lot because I don't like it. I think it's garbage. But I've watched him, and I've watched him lose because he knows the correct move in a certain position. So he pre-moves the move that based on he knows your GM, you're going to make the right move. And of course,
Yeah.
that GM says, I know Magnus pre-moves everything, so he makes moves that are based on the fact that he knows that Magnus will pre-move the right move, so therefore he commits. Yeah, okay, so you're not playing chess. You're playing hide and seek. You're playing Nerf gun war or something, or paintball, but that is not chess. So bullet, I throw
I
out.
got you.
I don't. I've never seen a actual bullet chess game. And
Yeah.
so that goes out the window. And then you get Ultra Bullet, even worse, right? And then you have Blitz. Blitz is close, right? I've seen 5-minute games, definitely. That's what I grew up on. You played normal chess or you played speed, we call it, speed chess. And speed chess
Big
was
chess. Yeah.
5 minute sudden death. There was no increments. And so that I think can be chess. But for
Mm-hmm.
beginners, and I call everyone that is not a titled player, if you're not an expert, if you're below an expert, you're a beginner in my mind. And for all of us, Blitz is fun, but not usually good for your chess. Not usually good for your chess. So I'm not telling you don't play Blitz. I'm just saying if you want to get better and you tell me, yeah, I play like 50 Blitz games a day, yeah, so you don't really want to get better unless you only want to get better at Blitz, which is still not getting better at real chess, right? When you sit down. Rapid is the fastest that I think anybody should be playing online for improvement. Again, I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to qualify because if you go off and play Bullet, have fun. I'm not telling you that you shouldn't play Bullet. I'm telling you it won't help you improve your chess, but have fun with it. Go for it.
Yeah.
And the same thing with Blitz. Now, Blitz, you can say, well, I'm trying to learn an opening. Well, okay, we're backwards again, where I don't think you should be memorizing lines. But if you're going to memorize lines and you want to practice those lines and you want to practice them against other people, then yes, you can play Blitz, play like 10 games in an hour, and get a lot of games in with that same line that you're practicing. Okay, okay. But all it is checking your memory because after you get all the moves right, the first 10 or 15
Yeah.
moves right, and then you're having to play chess, as Rosman would say, now you have to play chess. Then you usually lose on time or because you get sloppy or because you're not having time to think anymore. So I don't see the
Mm-hmm.
overall benefit of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that people when they want to play chess and they want to win, I understand that. I understand how people can get depressed if they're always losing, but that's part of it is you you don't want to just go always playing against the strongest players, and you don't always want to play the weakest players where you win every time either. Though some people are happy with that. You
Mm-hmm.
you want to try to play, and that's why arenas are kind of nice, right? If you play in an arena and you win a game, then you play another harder player and you play another harder player. But if you lose games, then you drop down, you keep
Mm-hmm.
dropping down, and you're playing weaker players. So it gives you a chance to play based on how you're playing, and you could find other people. Find friends to play against, and even online, find people that are friendly that you get along with, and find one that you beat 3 out of 4 times. Because if you beat
Mm-hmm.
your opponent 3 out of 4 times, you should be in over the board rating. You should be about 100 points higher than them.
Yeah.
And so for that person, they go, huh, okay, I'm winning 1 out of 4 times. So it's not like I'm getting destroyed every time. I'm learning. I'm going to get better
Mm-hmm.
by playing you. Now you are
Yeah.
beating them 3 out of 4 times. It's not really helping you. But the
Mm-hmm.
way it helps you is psychologically because
Yeah.
you
So
do need
confidence.
wins. You need
Mm-hmm.
to win. If you lose
Yeah.
every time, so some
Yeah.
people
You
tell
will
me,
quit.
yeah, I got people like TK say, yeah, I played ThinkerTeacher for 20 games and he beat me every game. And I'm like, stop playing them. What are you doing? Well, I
Stop
just
playing ThinkerTeacher. Quit it.
don't. Yeah, play them once in a while maybe, but why are you playing them 20 games? You want to find somebody that you can beat pretty much 1 out of 4 times. That's 100 points difference in rating, and that would give you a good target, and you can learn from the losses, and you can even learn from your wins. And that person is doing you a favor, but also helping their ego a little bit because they're winning 3 out of 4 times. And then they go find somebody that they lose 1 out of 4. They only win one out
Yeah.
of 4 times to improve. So the idea that, and I've heard it, right? You want to play people better than you to improve. This is any sport, guys, any competition. That is
Yeah.
not exactly true. If you only lost every time you played, you would get tired of losing, and or even if you stuck it out because you're just that gritty, you're going to have a problem because your confidence is totally shot. You won't believe you're any good. So you need to believe in yourself. Confidence is a ton. It's so important to your doing well and winning. You've got to have confidence, and the best way to get confidence is to win some games, guys. So you want to play games, and you want to make sure you're winning some of those games. Don't always play people stronger than you where you have no chance. You want to win some games.
Yeah. Definitely. And maybe I'll just expand on it a little bit by my part, because there is some theory. How could you, let's say, make the proportion out of the pool of the players you're playing? That's what you just mentioned is absolutely correct, but I'll just expand on it a little bit, because you should play the players who are stronger to learn new tricks, because otherwise you will not have the information, some kind of feedback, what you do wrong. You may not be able to figure it out by yourself most often. Then you should play the players who are equal to you or close to you, and sometimes you can even play players who are weaker than you. And maybe I'll just point out with Dan Heisman. Dan Heisman was the guy who probably you know very well, right? The one of the America's primer guy who taught adults. And he just mentioned that you should play the weaker players, something like 10 or 15% of the time, or sometimes 20, depending on the, let's say, development of your career, because this way you can consolidate your knowledge, right? You know how to win the games, even if they are some kind of easy winning, right? You get to the end, get to the final line. You play the players who are close in the ratings or the strength with you, because this way you can see sometimes that you need to defend and you need to attack. And most of the time, if you're playing pretty well, the games should be close to a draw, but if your opponent make a mistake, you can win. And if you're playing the games that are way ahead of you, something like too strong for you, you get beaten too much. And you will be beaten too much, you will not be even able to figure out what you do wrong. Because sometimes there are not just the blunders of tactical nature, right? Because strong players like masters will just shred you, not because of the tactical, let's say, advantage. Because of positional, because of the opening, because of the maneuvers, because of the pawn structure, pawn breaks, and all of the things that you are probably not familiar with, or at least you are not able to apply this in practice, right? And that's why it would be something like different ratio, I guess.
Yeah, you just brought that other topic that no matter how well you know the principles, and I'm showing it I'll show it on my screen again. No, my principles anyway. No matter how well you've memorized and say you know these principles, I have the same problem. I have to not just know them, I have to apply them, and that's that right. Having knowledge and applying that knowledge to a specific situation is the difference between being a student and being a master of something. You need to be able to apply the knowledge, which I struggle with still. That's why I'm not an IM right now, right? I'm not a national master yet. I need to apply what I know. And that's so knowing is half of it. Study helps you learn the material, but then you need to play games to actually practice applying that knowledge. You need to play games, and you need to play a slower game, because there's no way you're going to try to apply all of these principles if you're sitting there playing a 5-minute sudden death game.
You will not have the time to apply this knowledge, because you will need to rush a move, not just to think over it, right? And maybe let's talk a little bit about, as you just mentioned, the improvement or on your own. For example, if anybody wants to get better, what they should know and what they should do. And in the meantime, I'll be, let's say, going into the direction having a coach. If you can just merge them, it would be great.
Yeah, so some people can't afford a coach if they have to pay for a coach. Most people are self-taught, which is fine. There's tons of materials out there. But if you can get someone to coach you, if you can visit somebody like ThinkerTeacher and he could go over your games and stuff, probably the first thing you need to do is lose the ego, right? You need to lose the hubris that says, ThinkerTeacher, he can't tell me anything. I'm fine. Ratchet is again. I like using people that actually know. It's a great example because Ratchet, whose rating is higher than mine now, I think in Blitz, right? I don't play a lot of Blitz. I'm lousy at Blitz. Rapid and below is rapid and slower is where I believe I should be anyway. But I think he might even be higher rated than me, Rapid. And he says, well, I want to get a lesson. I said, great, let's do a one-on-one lesson. He goes, yeah, but can you teach me anything? Because I'm as strong as you. I go, yeah, I think I can. And so we did. We had a great lesson, and he enjoyed it. He learned a lot, and he's still working on those things. Because the rating doesn't mean he's better than me. It means his rating is higher than mine. So again, we get wrapped around this rating thing. It's the same thing. I get new viewers, and one of their first questions they'll ask is, what's your rating? I'm like, yeah. Does it matter? Is what I'm telling you make sense to you? Is what I'm telling you helping you?
Yes.
Why do you care? And by the way, feel free to look it up. Right? I don't hide who I am. Go look it up on Lead Chess, and you can see my rating. Because they don't even mean over the board rating. They mean your Lead Chess rating. And so I don't know why, but they get wrapped around like, well, if you're not rated 2400, then I'm not listening to you. I'm going to go over to this other guy. And I'm like, go, go, because you're misjudging what you should be using. You should discern for yourself if what you're hearing is good for you, and it will help you improve. And so that's part of it, right? So we have to study. And I do believe in looking at master games. I do looking at games of strong players. Just play over those games on your own. But you have to also play chess because, as we said, knowing is different than applying knowledge. Okay, students. This happens all the time, right? Somebody gets a PhD. They turn around. They teach at a college, and they've never ever done anything what that PhD is. All they've ever done is their thesis and their whatever they did for their final project, right, to get their PhD, but they've never been out in the world doing it. And then you have the people that have been out in the world doing it all that time and maybe don't have a PhD. Now, who do you want to learn from? Depends on what you want to do. If you just want to get a degree, you go to the professor and you take the classes and you say, thank you, professor, I got all the book knowledge now. I've got my degree, but now I need to go get a job being an engineer. And the engineering school will say, great. Or the engineering business will say, great, you got a degree. Okay, come on over and we'll teach you how to actually engineer. What do you mean? This guy just taught me. Yeah, that guy has never ever done anything out in the field. That guy has a doctorate in it because he's been in school his whole life. Now we have to show you how this actually works right now, real life, right now. Get this done. Same thing with chess, right? We can give them knowledge. They can read books. But they have to be able to apply that knowledge day in and day out or game to game, right? They have to apply the knowledge. So when I teach, I like to look at games that the person played. I look for areas that I think they're missing or are lacking in certain principles. I teach them the principles, and then we immediately have them play a viewer with one purpose in mind, not to win the game. One purpose in mind, to actually apply that principle in the game. And if they do well, we review the game afterwards and see how they applied it. If they didn't do it, we try it again. And the idea is that I just want them focusing for the next week or so on applying that one principle. So here's one I really like for a lot of my students is stop helping your opponent improve their position. And by that I mean they don't think about what they're doing. They make a move, and then they force their opponent to improve their position because of the move they made. I made a threat on your king, check, ha! And but then you just force them to, cover it develop a piece to cover it, to interpose, and you just force them to develop that piece, which, before that, they were down on development. And by the way, you moved your piece 2 times to get them to develop their piece, or where they trade off a couple of pieces and you traded off your good developed pieces for their undeveloped pieces. You had them pull them out and trade it off, and you're like thinking, yeah, this is equal because we traded, and you're like, no, now you're behind
Yeah.
on development because you didn't think about development or the fact that you're improving their position. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with most of what you just expressed. Therefore, I do not, let's say, extend on that too much. And one question from the chat, because there are some questions I need to address as much. If you could, let's say, repeat what is your FIDE rating, USCF rating, and Lichess rating, because we'll just get into the topic how the ranking fluctuates. Of course, it's not up if you are a good coach or not, but rather what are the differences between these rankings and how we can explain that. Okay?
So I will say you should check with your chat because I find one of the things that does not translate well all the time is sarcasm. And if that person had wrote that in my chat, I would have been. I'm laughing now because I take that as a joke. That I just said that I don't like it when people come onto my stream and the first thing they ask is, "What's your rating?" I don't want to listen to you. And then they ask you to have me tell you my rating. I think they're joking. I think they're like, yeah, okay, they're like, he, to me that's a joke. To me that's sarcastic joke. I don't think they're serious. All right, but I will share with you. I will share you with you anyway. But I think they were just joking with you. I think they were being sarcastic and joking with me. So my over the board ratings, I don't even know. Hold on, I seriously don't. I don't keep track. It's not important. My bullet. I've played 447 games in bullet, and the only reason I did that was I used to play a 2+1 for my club. So over COVID, my chess club, the chess club that I've been running for like 14, 15, 16, 17 years out of our library. By the way, we are the longest running activity club in the library ever.
Wow.
Not chess,
Excellent.
but no club, art club, writing club, history club, genealogy club. No club has gone for as many years in a row as we have. So then COVID came and you couldn't go do that at the library anymore, right? Handling like chess pieces and stuff was not good for COVID. So we moved our club to Lichess, and I would run 4 or 5 tournaments a week, which is a whole lot more than we had in person. But anyway, so the kids in my club all wanted, like, we should do a bullet day. So we did a 2+1 bullet tournament. And like you said, you could play a ton of games. I've played 447 bullet games, which I don't even like bullet, but I always do the slowest bullet possible, which is 2+1. All right. But anyway, so you guys want to know my rating? 1802 for bullet, 1975 for blitz, 2163 for rapid, 2111 for classical, and my correspondence, I've only played 36 games, so it's a question mark, 2186. Do I care about any of those? No, let's keep going. I have a crazy house rating of 1785 with a question mark. I have a chess 960 rating of 1871 with a question mark. I have a 3-check and an anti-check or anti-chess rating. I don't care. None of those are chess. And the other ratings now, I will say that on my stream, I'm using as a measure my rapid and classical rating. I really want my classical rating to be over 23 or 2400. Why?
Yeah, very good point. Why?
Only reason why is because, one, to give me confidence that I am playing at a pretty high level. So when I go back to playing over the board, which is the closest thing to classical online, that when I go back to over the board, I want to be playing strong. So right now, if I'm 2111 classical, I feel like I need to be about 2400 classical to be playing as strong as I want to play over the board. So it's a measure to get there. My USCF rating, by the way, if you go check my Lichess persona, you would see my profile is 1958 over the board. My highest I've ever achieved was 1987 before I stopped playing in tournaments.
And what about, let's say, taking into the topic, because a lot of players are absolutely clueless. How can we measure the progress? Because everything what they see is the rating, right? Sometimes we even laugh with Wernacki and with C complex that some of the players are super blind and they're something like obsessed with the rating, obsessed with the numbers. But if we just treat it seriously, how can we help them to understand if they make progress or not? Because for them, just the rating is the measure of the progress or the regress, right?
Yes.
And how can we show them the different kind of progress that they won't be, let's say, worried, and they can, let's say, have the reliable source that it is a real progress, not just something like a fluctuation, right? How can we, let's say, convince them what would be the so-called real progress? How can we understand it? How can we recognize that, right?
Yes. Yes. No, totally. So the ratings should be, again, it's a measure. It's a way of seeing how you're doing. So if you do anything with measures, and I've written books on measures. In fact, I wrote a book, Metrics, How to Improve Key Business Results. It's a business book. It's my bestseller book. So how to improve key business results. Metrics. And if I look at metrics, right, if I have a chart up here, and I could watch your rating. And by the way, when you do it on your profile, it shows you charts. And you could pick a single category to watch your rating. And so I have it on my stream right now, but you have this chart. And I don't care about the specific number, I care about the line's growth and change. And what you're looking for is a norm. All right, so I want to see, like, say my norm, let's just say my norm is between 2100 classical and 2000 classical. Okay, that's where I think I am today. That's how good I am today.
Right now.
Right. And so when that rating dips below 2000, it'll come back up. But when it dips below 2000, that's an anomaly. It's out of the band of norm. And I have to say, why did I drop below 2000? What is happening? And I might go look and I might say, oh, I'm trying to do X and I'm not focusing on my game as I should be, and therefore my rating dropped. Okay. It might be I've learned a new opening and I'm losing a lot of games because I'm trying to play this new opening. That's a whole other story, but it could be the reason that day. It could be that I'm playing in stronger tournaments or playing stronger players, and so I'm getting beat up a little bit, and I haven't started catching up yet. So there's a reason. There's a reason the other way also, guys. If my norm is 2100 and 2000, if it's that 100 points difference is my norm, and my rating pops up to 2200 all of a sudden, there's a reason for that. And I have to say, why did that happen? And it might be, I've learned about proper pawn breaks. I've learned about I've gotten better at endgames. I've learned about how to coordinate my pieces better. I am applying some of these principles that I've been talking about. So there's a reason for a spike, up or down.
Yeah.
And that chart should tell you, once you know what your norm is, when you're going up or down, that there's all it is that there's a cause. You want to look for the cause and then see if it's something that you either want to try to grow and replicate. So like say it's an upswing. Well, it's because I'm doing better at pawn breaks. Yes, I want to do more studies of pawn breaks and of pawn structures and keep building on that and see how high it'll get me. And then my norm will change. If then my rating stays up there for the next 20 games, my norm changed from 2000 to 2100. Now my range might be 21 to 2200. And now if I fall below 2100, I'm back to, why? And if I jump over 2200, why?
Yeah.
So that's what's important, is consistency and looking for blips and glitches, anomalies. You're going to have some bad days, you're going to have some good days, but your rating should still stay in the range if you're looking over time and not looking every day and not looking at the number you don't want to look at just at the number. I mean, it's true with every sport you want to pick. I play tennis. I'm a 3.5. I would like to be a 4.0. But I don't want to just be a 4.0, because if that was my goal, if the number was the goal, I would go fill out paperwork, self-assess as 4.0, and I'd be a 4.0 tomorrow. I wouldn't be able to play at that level. I'd still be playing at a 3.5 level, but I could have the 4.0 next to my name. But that isn't the goal. The goal is I want to be as good as a 4.0. I want to be a better tennis player. That rating, 3.5 to 4.0, is same as in chess, it's an indicator of how well I'm playing. So what am I doing? I'm playing other players that are a little bit better than me, that I can win every once in a while, 1 out of 4 games, and I'm improving my strokes, improving my game, improving my mental game, and I'm hoping that at some point they look at me and say, "You're now 4.0. We're going to bump you up." The same way as the ratings in here, the lead chess will look at me and say, "You're playing at 22, 2500, 2300, and my rating will go up." But it's I want to improve. I don't want my number. I want to improve my game.
Yeah, and maybe I'll just let's say add some of the things with this because we have probably very the same let's say spirit of the let's say feeling how the progress work. Even if you just let's say make some kind of different approach with let's say our styles, right? For me, I always repeat my students and I always tell them that whenever you see the progress, it means that you are doing something better. You're doing something way more consistent. You're understanding more. You're making stupid mistakes less. And maybe a little bit funny, let's say, funny fragment from one of the books of Grandmaster Jonathan Robson. He made such a great, let's say, motto related to improvement that I use it all of the time because I simply love it. And he made it something like a little bit trolling, but in the sense, if you just, the more you think about it, the easier it will be to you to understand it. He said something like that. How can we recognize that we are getting better? And the simple definition, we are getting better if we have the feeling that we are outplaying our former opponents with less effort. And it is absolutely amazing. And I tried to, let's say, refute that in any way, but I couldn't find any refutation, right? What about that?
Yeah, I find that so when I agree with you, I would do it a little different, but we're different people, so of course. One of the things I do different is, let's say a student came to you and said, "Hey, I don't know, am I doing better?" And I looked and I said, "Wow, you've gained 200 rating points."
Yeah.
Before I tell them that they're playing better, I would stop them and say, "How'd you do that? Why do you have 200 more rating points?" Because again, I can get more rating points without necessarily becoming a better player, right? I can go play people a whole lot lower rated than me. I got to play maybe 100 times more games against people a lot lower rated than me. But if I get 1 or 2 points every time, I can get there. I mean, it's a sad way to do it, but I could get there. But if I ask the person, "What are you doing differently?" And if they go, "I don't know. I stopped giving away free candy." I'd go, "You stopped giving away free candy. That's the answer."
Yeah.
Okay. I'm paying attention to the squares. I'm making sure I castle from now on. I didn't used to castle. Now I'm castling every time because you told me to castle. I've been castling, and it might not be me. I paid attention to somebody and I'm playing this same opening every time, and I'm doing better. Well, yeah, you started playing a legit opening instead of a dubious opening, and you're playing it pretty well, so you're getting into better positions, and so you were normally this good, but the problem was you were playing such a bad opening that you were down on material or position every game. So now you got rid of that bad opening. So there's a reason. And so the reason I stress that is, if I find out, use that last example, that they were playing a dubious opening, they stopped playing the dubious opening, they're just playing solid opening, I wouldn't want to tell them, "Yeah, you're playing better." I'd want to tell them, "Great, you got rid of the garbage opening. Make sure you don't do any more garbage openings anymore. Play solid openings, and then let's work on the rest of your game." But if they've been playing the exact same openings and they're just playing better, they're not making blunders, they're not giving away free candy, they're seeing tactics better, then that is what improved. So I need to have that back and forth to make sure I understand how they've improved their rating, because that rating could have improved in multiple ways that may or may not mean that they're actually playing better.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And if we are just talking about these things related to ratings, to improvement, to the trends and all of these things, let's talk about more things that are pretty much helpful to gain not just the rating, but gain the understanding, right? Gain the feeling that you know about chess more and you can start applying that. It is one of the things that is called a coach or having a coach, even if we just can, let's say, sometimes take into account that probably not everybody can afford a coach, but let's put it aside. If everybody could afford a coach, what is the difference between the player and the coach? What qualities one needs to have to become a good coach? A good coach. What does it need to become such a coach? Feel
Well,
free to
I,
share your experience, my friend.
I will say that a good coach, like a good teacher,
Mm-hmm.
requires talent. And people might not want to hear that, but you need talent. You go look at the best football or sports coaches; they're not the best players. In fact, some of them never played the sport. Most of them may have played it, but never at the level that they're coaching. So they're not ever. They never were as good as the people they're coaching, but they're able to coach or teach a sport to super athletes that are way better than them. You need talent. There is a talent. There's a spark. There's an ability to teach, to coach. Now, essentially, what I think of that as is the ability to find the key to understanding. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking to ThinkerTeacher, and I say that I don't like when people ask me my rating the first thing, and then somebody throws on ThinkerTeacher's chat, "Oh, what's your rating?" And ThinkerTeacher says, "Hey, Marty, what is your rating?" And I go, "Hey, ThinkerTeacher, they're pulling your leg." And he goes, "What is pulling your leg?" Because that's a saying, right, in America or in English.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, "Well, they're
Yeah.
they're being sarcastic." And he goes, "I don't know what you mean by that. How are they being sarcastic?" And I say, "Because I just said it. They now are asking whatever I tell you I don't like. They're going to ask because that's a joke." And then ThinkerTeacher goes, okay, all right, I got you guys." So finding the key to understanding, to helping somebody understand something that they didn't understand before is not as simple as just saying, "Hey, X, do X." So if I say, "Hey, you need to move this E pawn to E4 every time," and not explain why and not help you understand it, you're not going to get better per se. You might get better results, but your play isn't going to get better because you don't understand. A good coach teacher has to be able to find the key to help you understand something new. They have to be willing to do it in different ways. They have to meet you, and coaches especially, by the way. Teachers don't. Teachers, we just put the information out there and you got to suck it in. But a coach should be able to meet you where you are. So I have to find out where you are in your journey, right? That's part of my job. Assess where you are in your chess journey. Once I know where you are, I have to then come up with a plan to help you just get to the next plateau. I'm not going to
Yeah.
take you from a sub 1000 lead chess player and I don't care, in 6 months, I'm not going to make you an IM.
Mm-hmm.
That's not my job. My job is to take you from a sub 1000 player and get you
Yeah.
to be strong enough that you've improved, and we'll see the rating prove me out if I'm doing a good job, to where now you're beating the people that used to beat you and that you're beating
Uh-huh.
sub 1000 players. Now, conversely, you'll be over 1000 at that point. But that isn't my goal. That isn't it's a good measure, it's a helpful, but are you beating all the people that used to beat you because you gave away free candy? That's usually the problem under 1000. So
Yeah.
I can come up with principles, I can come up with tools to make it easier for me to help you. But the key to coaching and teaching is always the same: finding ways to help them make that light bulb go off, right? Find the key to that understanding to unlock that door. There's many doors. Unlock that door
Yeah.
to knowledge and help them apply that knowledge. Then I'm doing my job. And if I did a lesson with 4 different people, they could actually be the exact same rating. The 4 different lessons will probably be 4 different, totally different lessons, because each person needs what they need at that time, and that's my
Yeah.
job, is to figure it out. If I was going to say, "Hey, you're all rated 1200. Here's a lesson on basic endgames or basic
Mm-hmm.
checkmates," okay, I can do that, but I'm not coaching you. I'm just teaching
Yeah.
on basic endgames, which could help all of you. But once I finish, if I want to coach you on a one-on-one lesson, I'm going to find what each person needs to get to the next step, to the next
Mm-hmm.
plateau.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that it is very important that sometimes it is super, let's say, beneficial if we have the connection with the coach, right? Because sometimes if we just get the, let's call it random coach or random teacher, probably it may not work as best as we have the coach that we can trust, that we can, let's say, have the chemistry, right? And how can we find out about the coach that would be good enough to you to make the steady progress, right? How can we find out what are the symptoms, what are the elements that we need to take into account when we want to work with the coach with something like a longer period, right? Not just the one or two individual lessons, but let's say for a half a year, right? What
Yeah.
would it be that we will be sure that we are working with the coach that, let's say, teach us solid chess, and in the meantime, we are feeling, let's say, that we are getting better, and our self confidence and other factors grows. What about that?
Yeah, you said it. So you need to find, if you're going to have a coach,
Mm-hmm.
our training partner. It doesn't even have to be a coach. It could be a training partner. Remember, you could have a training partner that beats you 3 out of 4 times, and then you could be a training partner or mentor to somebody that you beat 3 out of 4 times. So what do you need to
Yeah.
do to get along? One is someone who listens to you. You need to listen to them, but they need to listen to you. They need to hear what you're saying and try to meet you where you are, as I said. So I just had a lesson with Patrick Kluss, 513, and it was
Mm-hmm.
a nice lesson. I enjoyed it, but I had to listen to him and listen to how he interprets things so I know where I can help him. Before that, I had a lesson with Linear Stork. Same thing. I needed to listen to how Linear Stork understood and explained certain things so then I could help him. And I need to be able to meet them where they are and explain things in a way that they can buy into and understand and see, right? It isn't, I'm not trying to convince, I'm not winning a debate. I'm not trying to win an argument. I'm trying to offer them a viewpoint that they might not have, and to try to offer them information they might not have, and to offer
Mm-hmm.
them, a lot of times, I call a calibration of thinking. I want to help them see the world in a little bit of a different way. So, as an
Yeah.
example, a lot of people I know play e4. Why did we play e4 as our opening when we first start? Because it leads to the most exciting chess, most fun chess, not boring chess, open lines, attacking, and most of the great players played e4, and they still do.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby Fischer was almost exclusively e4. So e4 is definitely the let's play some chess and have some blood on the battlefield here. Versus, I'm gonna play d4 and keep it quiet for a while. I want to take my time. So but we all play e4. So one of the things I did with my students over COVID was I said, okay, for 1 week, because they were all playing a lot of chess online because what else to do during COVID, right? I said, okay, for
Mm-hmm.
1 week you cannot play e4.
Yeah.
You have to play d4. And I didn't care if they knew an opening. I said, I'm not teaching openings, but I want you to play d4 as your first move as white, and you're going to play for a whole week that way. And the idea is that you start learning how it looks different, how it feels different from that starting point than e4. And I think that helps them grow. So coaches challenge you. They give you new things to try. They try to again. I'm always trying to make the light bulb go off. So for some of them, they were like, I kind of like this D4 thing. Some of them like, no, I'm going back to E4, but I understand better what an E4 type of system does and why it does it. And this is how the lines open up differently. So a lot of times it's challenging. You want to challenge your students. You want to help them grow. But, always, 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 a good coach slash teacher has one thing besides talent. They have one major thing going for them: a sincere desire to help their students improve. If they're
Mm-hmm.
doing it because they're making money, that
Yeah.
doesn't meet my criteria, right? You have to have a sincere desire for your students to improve. Because I can do a coaching one-on-one lesson or teach and just keep giving the same material out or different material even, and not care if anybody improves. That's your problem. I'm giving you the
Yeah.
material. You should be learning it. Good luck. Um, but that's not to me a good coach or good teacher. That is what,
Yeah.
unfortunately, a lot of teachers in the world,
Mm-hmm.
in schools and in colleges and in universities. I think there's a probably a certain percentage, maybe 50%, that are doing it because it's a job. But then there's the other ones that do it because they're called, right? It's a calling, it's a vocation.
Mm-hmm.
Teaching is a
Yeah.
calling for some of them. And those are the ones that you remember. Those are the teachers where you go, man, I was a great teacher. I remember my whole life. He taught me so much. While the other side, the ones that are just doing it as a job, you're like, yeah, I couldn't wait to get finished with that class. So I
There's
want
a
to be the
huge
kind of
difference.
teacher or coach that people remember in a nice way.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I agree with that with full degree. And now one question from our friend Laura. Laura is a streamer, and in the meantime, she is a coach as well. I'm not sure if she is from New York or maybe some, let's say, bigger city. If I'm not mistaken, I just attended her streams for a dozen of times, but maybe less. But I saw that she is pretty much passionate about chess as well, and she asked the question. Maybe I'll just answer ask this question, and if you can address that, it would be great. Is it okay?
Sure, this is kind of fun. I didn't know we were going to do so much interviewing, but I'm having a
Yeah.
good time. So if it's good for your stream, yes, let's keep
Yeah,
going.
absolutely, absolutely. Everybody's having fun. Everybody's enjoying that. Why not continue? My question is for sorry. The question for Laura is like that. When a coach is teaching an adult beginner who truly wants to improve, example, about 600 level to 1000, how much real tough truth do we need to explain? How much work it takes? Not like 10 minutes a day. You need to dedicate 30, 45 minutes every single day, like other most hobbies, fitness or instrument. And as far as I understood, it is the question related to how much dedication the student needs to make the real progress from 600 up to a 1000. That's my understanding.
And how honest do you want to be to let them know that hey, it ain't going to happen unless you put in the time? I think that's what she's asking too.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. It's funny because I've not thought about that. I learn all the time. I learn from every student. I learn from every lesson I give. I'm learning about them. I'm learning about how they learn, and I'm learning about how to teach better. And so one of the things, Lauren, I have actually not, Laura, I have not even thought about is when I teach a lesson to tell them that they need to go and spend more time studying and working. You know, that I never even ask them, like, oh, well, are you only spending 15 minutes a week? You're not going to get better. I've not even thought about asking that. So thank you for making me think about that. I might have to ask that when somebody tells me I'm not getting better. And I can ask them, well, what are you doing to get better? And I play once or twice a week. Well, okay, yeah. If you're only playing, doing no studying, not even doing puzzles online, yeah, you're not going to get better. So I hear you. First of all, how brutally honest? You can be as brutally honest. You can be totally honest, right? True
Yeah.
honesty is honest. Tell them just like you would a loved one. You probably wouldn't sugarcoat things too much, but you can, right? So sugarcoating and making things sound not so bad and helping them understand without hurting their feelings doesn't mean that you aren't being honest. Brutally honest makes it sound like, hey, I'm just gonna tell them, hey, you're a noob. You're never gonna get better unless you stop working. That might be a harsh way to say it, right? You might say, hey, I gave you some things to work on. If you don't work on those things, at least do some puzzles. If you don't, yeah, okay. So you can find nice ways to say it. Uh, but the amount of time, I think it depends. But you bring up a point that I talked about on my stream a little while ago. When people come on the stream and they say, "Hey, so that you still get that age-old question, what's your rating?" Right? And so I can see people doing that to ThinkerTeacher, like, "Oh, ThinkerTeacher, you're up in what, 23, 2200s? You're going to become a
22.
national
Just
master?"
22.
Huh?
I always maybe just interrupt for a second. I always give my let's say viewers if they are asking the question about the rating. I tell them I am 2200 because I just started learning chess. And some of them may think that it's funny, but to me it's not funny. The more I know, the less I understand. That's the point.
Well, the more you understand, the more you know you don't know.
Yeah, that's the point. Uh huh.
Yeah,
Please
yep.
continue.
So
Uh
yeah,
huh.
they say, oh, so you're going to be a national master? Are you going to be an international master? And I thought about it. I said, well, I'm going to try for national master. But the bottom line is, besides the fact needing a ton of knowledge, being able to apply the knowledge. The other thing you need is to understand that to be a titled player normally means that you are doing it as a profession. Now, how much time do you put into a profession? Most people, at a minimum, are putting in, hey, thanks for the raid. You are normally putting in at least 8 hours a week, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, right? Most jobs, full-time jobs, are 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. And if you don't put in that much, why do you think that you're going to be able to make it to be a professional in anything, including chess? And a titled player is basically, in my mind, a professional. And if you don't believe me, check. Look at the IM's online streaming. Eric Rosen, and the ones that we know and maybe are more famous. Eric Rosen, Anna Rudolph, Levy Rosman, right? Look at these guys and gals and say, well, what's the difference? They're professional. How'd they get to be an IM? They spent 5 to 8 hours a day on chess. How much are you spending? How much am I spending? Full disclosure. I stream 4 days a week, I think, right now. Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. So I stream 4 days a week with an occasional Saturday thrown in. So I stream 4 days a week, on average, probably 2 hours per stream. So I am streaming for 8 hours a week. That's 8 hours of chess a week. Not a day, like I just said, but a week. Now, how much time do I put into my chess outside of that? Well, I did the Lone Wolf thing, and that was like a 2-hour game once a week. So I'm up to 10 hours a week. And by the way, when I stream, I rarely play. I almost always do what we're doing right now. I do show games and we do review games and yeah, but I even run a tournament for the World Chess Championship. But I don't play myself. So I'm only playing once a week there. Now, I will say most times before I go to bed, I might go play maybe 30 minutes on chess.com, Blitz. Why am I playing Blitz? I told you I don't like Blitz. Because I only got 30 minutes before I go to sleep. I want to play a little bit of chess just to play chess. Because I like chess. Like I said, it's for enjoyment, not for improvement. So that doesn't really even count towards my improvement, right? But then I'm prepping for my stream. I finally do some real study. I pull out my books. I pull out my materials. And I'm studying for the stream. I'm studying to do a one-on-one lesson. So that's getting me better. But still, think about what I'm saying. Where I said you should spend, as a professional, 40 hours a week, I'm spending, if I'm lucky, let's just give myself the benefit of the doubt, 12 hours a week. I'm not going to improve drastically at 12 hours a week at the level I am now. And the higher level you get, the harder it is to improve, because you're improving by playing people up there where you are, and you have to beat those people, right? To get better, you have to be able to beat people that you weren't able to beat yesterday. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And you have to decide to dedicate time and put the time into that work if you want to do that. Totally up to you. So for anybody that's trying to, they come on stream and they go, I want to be this good. Okay, well, put in some time, put in some work. The beauty is learn the principles, apply the principles, and you can do a lot of that while playing, which is the fun part. So you can do the fun part while studying in reality. Some of it you need to stop and sit down and look at and read, but a lot of it is, hey, like if I tell you free candy and I show you on a board how to identify all the undefended pieces, and then, by the way, identify all the undefended pieces that are also under attack, that's called free candy. And if you could do that, even just scanning the board quickly and circling them, because you could do that online. You could draw arrows on your board. You could draw circles. Can't do that in real life. You can't be writing on the board. If you did that, you'd probably stop giving away free candy. Do I need to go do studying? No. I need to discipline my mind and my eye to see the free candy. That's all. So you can, some improvements you could do as you play. Some of them you might, as you get better, you're going to have to spend more time, and you just have to decide, how good do I really want to be, and how much time do I really want to spend?
Yeah, definitely. And I guess it is very important to understand that as long as you are improving and enjoying the process, actually it doesn't matter. Literally, it doesn't matter how much your rating progress, right? Because the rating progress, at least to my understanding, is the reflection of the work and the application of the understanding of chess you have done already, right? For example, sometimes there is a process, because I just let's say share some of the things from the science world as well. Sometimes there is a process that is let's say related to the accumulation of knowledge and the integration of new knowledge into the old system, right? For example, if you are focusing on chess and, for example, study chess 10 hours a day with a professional coach 6 days a week for 2 months, probably you will not see the rating, let's say, rating progress that much, that you will make something like a month break from intense chess, just playing and enjoying, because the rating will catch up with your development and the new processing, let's say, of the understanding, before it will just be on the equal level, right?
Yeah, you need to play. I mean, we sometimes forget that. I mean, we as teachers stress
Uh-huh.
study and learning principles, but if they're not playing, they also have trouble, right? You have to play. You need to play games. There's not really much of a replacement for playing games, and I try not to play computers. I like playing people. Don't ask me why, because they're human. They make human mistakes. I'm not going to play a computer when I go play in a tournament, so why do I want to play a computer online? I want to play people. And so I try to play games every once in a while because, one, it's fun, and two, it does help you improve. The more you. When I play my brother, I give him lessons all the time. And one of the biggest differences in our ability level today is time, speed and time. And we happily talk about that. But the other major difference between him and me, because he sees same things I do, but it takes him a lot longer to see them. But the other thing that's different between him and me is experience. I've played probably, I don't know how many games in my life, but I've been playing since 8, and I've been playing serious chess since 16, tournaments even. So I've been playing serious chess for a long time. While he's just, he did a little bit when he was young. He played, dabbled every once in a while.
On and off
And then,
playing,
yeah, and
right?
then maybe 5 years ago, he was like, I want to get good at chess. And so he started playing chess and playing in tournaments. So a lot of it's just, I have so many years of experience playing
Yeah.
that actually makes a difference. So, just playing is important. Play a lot of games.
Hmm.
Play
Yeah.
chess is good, which unfortunately people translate to mean I'll go play bullet because I can go play 30
Yeah.
games in an
Yeah.
in an hour or two, and yeah, that isn't what I mean.
They misunderstand the idea of playing chess as playing a lot of bullet chess, right? Something like a ridiculous application of the general idea that is pretty helpful. And let's get into the let's say resources, because you just mentioned what I wanted to ask you about the engines. And there is a lot of misconceptions about engines as well. But how would you recommend to work with the engines the best way with the sense not to make the stupid mistakes that will make your chess harmful? What are the, let's say, rules with working with the engines, especially after the game? Because during the game, probably it's not a good idea.
Well, at least it's not legal or kind or for yeah.
Yeah.
I'm I I don't go back and forth. I don't like using an engine to analyze. I do like using the engine to sanity check and double check things occasionally where it plays. If I were a streamer, which I am, and I was playing chess online, which I don't much on my stream, but if I were to play more on stream, and I want to analyze my game afterwards, which by the way I do every time I do hand and brain, we do go analyze the game. I would go ahead and say, analyze the game. Well, I already do. Say it all the time. Analyze the game on your own. But
Mm-hmm.
if you have a chat, if you have viewers, ask them for their input. And you as a team, right? We are smarter than me most times. Uh, Work together to figure out why moves are good or bad, and where you're going. Now, once you've done that, you might say, but yeah, we don't see, we really feel like there's a good move here and we can't find it. We're giving up. Okay, pull up the engine and see if the engine shows you an obvious move. What's scary is half the time the engine will show you a move and you'll go, I never make that move in my life. I don't even see why it's a good move. And you won't. And you have to wait 5, 6, 7, 8 moves down the line and go, oh, look, you're winning. Now, the reason that doesn't work is because the engine is finding the best moves for both sides, guys. And so if you make a move per the engine, then you make the other move per the engine, and you keep going like that. It's looking so far down the line of what making that a good move or bad move, you're going to get lost. You don't understand it. It doesn't help. So what I like to do is when I do use the engine, is I'll say, okay, why shouldn't they just take this pawn? And that happens a lot in master games, right? I'll look at a master game. In fact, I have one here that I see you're in my study with me. I invited you to, ThinkerTeacher, because I want to show you this game. But in the game, we even had, and I think this game actually has the move in it, ThinkerTeacher, where my chat and I were like, why isn't this better? This move looks better. And because the book didn't explain to you why. And we're like, why is this move better? So then we went and turned on the engine, and guess what? We could say, see, it is better, because it was something we could understand and see and benefit from. So I would say not so much that you shouldn't use the engine at all, but I would say use them sparingly and carefully. That would be my advice as far as that goes. Use them sparingly and very carefully, and use them to sometimes double check your analysis and what you believe, and also to get an idea. I can't tell you how many times I find it so sad that I'm watching a streamer, and as soon as they finish the game, they go, let's go analyze. And they bring up the engine, and they just look at it, and they go, see, the engine says that was bad. Oh, man, I messed up. Oh, the engine says that was bad. Dag, I messed up. The engine said that was a good move. Yay. And they're not understanding why it's a mistake or why it's a good move. They're just going based that the computer said it. So that to me is one, lazy. It's a lazy way to do it. But two, it doesn't help you learn as much, because you're just blindly following what a computer tells you is a better move, not understanding why it's a better move.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe I'll just address this topic a little bit, because a lot of players who are streamers, but they are most often not the coaches, neither let's say chess teachers or trainers. They have the false idea that whenever they check out the game with the engine and find out how many mistakes they have done, it magically appears that they are getting better. Why? Because they knew how many mistakes they have done, right? That's it, that's simple. And sometimes whenever I watch such streamers and I see how they approach to the mistakes, sometimes I just try to explain them that you will never find the correct move at this position unless you are a title player. And that's why we shouldn't take this mistake or actual a blunder into consideration, because it's absolutely not your level. And sometimes I am trying to address this topic with a little bit, let's say, funny or ridiculous way. I ask them how much you are suffering when you are comparing yourself to the speed car. How much? Because you can run, right? It is the distance, it is the time. How much you can compare to the speed car? Because probably you will lose even single race against the speed car, right? And they just look at this in a very short distance before the speed car cannot reach the velocity that they can, let's say, chase out the car, right? And they some kind of blindness, because they cannot, let's say, understand that the level of mistakes may be pretty different and based on different factors, right? Sometimes if you just hang mate in one with all of the, let's say, empty board, and it is checkmate in one, that you do not know how to checkmate king and queen against the king, it's a huge difference when you miss the, let's say, free move combo, that you win a piece, right? If there are a lot of, let's say, pins, a lot of pawn breakthroughs, there is a kings that are open and so on. And the streamers probably may not understand how to work with the engine to get the most benefits out of that. That's my impression.
And what gets me is as a beginning player, the engine was going to show you that you shouldn't have given away your queen for free. Well, I didn't need you shouldn't need an engine to spot that, right? Because they took your queen. So you know that you put your queen in pre and it was taken. So I don't need an engine to tell me that. By the way, I do use, again, sanity check. I'll go look at after I've analyzed my games, I will run an engine against my game. And I will tell you, out of the mistakes and blunders that it points out, I'd say maybe a fifth of those are useful to me. That I look at it and go, oh, it says that was a mistake and this is what I should have done. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to remember that in the future. That was something I didn't think about. I had my lone wolf game ended up being a draw, and I was behind. I felt for most of the game like by a pawn, and the move that the computer wanted me to make at one point was to take a knight, which would with my queen, which would allow a discovered attack afterwards. Where basically my best move after that was to take a rook with my queen and get basically two knights and a rook for my queen. I'm sorry, two knights and one rook. Yeah, for my queen. Two knights and one rook
Yeah.
for my queen. And I looked at that and I said, "Oh, I do like that. Yeah, I think I wouldn't have. I think I would have liked that better. I would have liked to at least try to win that game than the way I played it. But I didn't
Yeah.
even look. I didn't even look to say, huh." Because all I saw was if I took the first knight, he would be able to force my queen for a rook after that. And I didn't think about, but then I'd get to take the other knight, and it might be a good trade. I just didn't want to give up my queen for the knight and the rook as just principle. So for me, that computer analysis was useful where I said, I got to start remembering and thinking and using that sometimes, that if I can come out of it with enough material, yeah, this might be a good thing to do. But that's where the computer was nice. Other moves that it wants me to make, I'm like, why am I not taking back this pawn? It made no sense. But it had this great idea of that, you don't take back the pawn for a long time. And I'm like, there's no way I would leave that pawn sitting there. It ain't going to happen. I'm going to take that pawn every time. So let's not even waste my time. So yeah, it depends. It depends.
Yeah.
Do you want to
Yeah.
see this
Maybe
game real quick?
Yes, maybe I'll just add one thing that sometimes the engines are that much, let's say, deep into the variations that you may not have the slightest idea why they played such a move or will not play such a move unless you reveal some like 8 to 10 moves deep. Then so-called truth is revealed, right?
Yes.
Therefore, if you do not understand how to handle the engine evaluation, the engine, let's say, positions that it evaluates deeper or less deep, you probably will get yourself way more harm, but you will not use the engine at all, except for blunders. The only simple reason to, let's say, use the engine without any harm, at least from my point of view, is using the engine when you have the dropout of evaluation pretty much. For example, you are +2, and after a move, it is -3. Therefore, it must be either a tactical blunder or huge strategical blunder. Both should be and can be actually addressed very quickly by the stronger player, of course, with the coach as well, right?
I'm going to start singing now because you preached very well to your choir, because I totally agree. Totally agree.
Excellent. I'm super happy about that. And there is one question from our viewer as well, and I will try to address it because probably this would be good as well, especially for majority of players, because it is the, let's say, issue that everybody struggles less and more. It is the issue related to the visualization. How to visualize the position clearly, correctly, and in the meantime, how would you, what kind of pieces of advice would you give to the players if they would like to start playing blindfold? Even short, let's say, positions, maybe short fragments of the game. What would be this topic all about? If you would like to give your experience and pieces of advice.
I will give you. I'm gonna. Hey guys, because I love to teach. I'm gonna share with you 2 secrets. Serious, 2 secrets that I have. First one is for visualization. The other one is an assessment I do for students looking for prodigies. So the first one on visualization. I have my students from day one of the first things I teach them after I make sure they know the rules and the piece values, the third thing I teach them is how to keep score. Guess what? Online, you don't have to keep score. So I'm talking in real life, guys. You write down the moves on a piece of paper. And they do that every game they play. And so they learn how to keep score. Immediately after keeping score, I usually have them play at least one game every lesson, every class we have, which is once a week. And I'll set the clocks to 20 minutes or 30 minutes. They'll play a game. We have an hour and a half lesson. So they never usually take up all the time. They finish the game. I say, okay, let's analyze. I walk over. I sit down with them. They're sitting still in the boards. I say, set it back up to the beginning. I take away both score sheets and I lay them in front of me so they cannot see them. I said, okay, show me the game. They have to remember the game, every move. And if like say white can't remember their fourth move, if black can remember it, I tell them, great job. I reward them. I say, great job. Yep, that was the right move. Black knew it. And then they keep going. And they see how deep they can get into the game without me having to correct their move. This for me is, one, shows their level of concentration while they were playing. Two, it helps improve and show their memory. But three, it leads to visualization. It leads them to seeing, because they'll be in a certain position and they'll go, and I'll go, well, you guys know 3 moves from now, something happened. Remember, you dropped this or you dropped that. How'd you get from here to there? See if you can remember how you got there. So for me, that's a tool I use, which helps with visualization, memorization, and focus, because they have been focusing on that game. Now think about it. You write down the move, you make the move, you write down your opponent's move. So it's getting indelled in your mind because you're writing down the moves on top of the fact that you're making the moves. And you're thinking about other moves. So you have, you spent all that time focusing, concentrating, thinking. You should be able to visualize. Now, I played 2 matches, true blindfold, in real life. And they were against weaker players. And it is murder. Because for me, I don't have a photographic memory at all. And so for me to even remember that F6 or F3 is a light square and F6 is a dark square, that doesn't pop into my head.
Never play F6.
Yeah. No, but I want to put my knight there. I want to put my knight there. It. And I need to know it's a dark square, that my dark square bishop, when it goes to G5, is actually pinning the knight on F6 because it's a dark square, right? I got to remember it's a dark square. So even remembering the color of all the squares is hard for me. But, I just don't have that kind of a visual memory. But visualization is all about not touching a piece and seeing what happens. So I also, this is not a secret, on my stream and when I'm working with people and I'm helping people, when we look at puzzles together, I tell them, okay, no moving the pieces, don't even draw an arrow. So if you want to get better at visualization right now, do puzzles, no arrows, no circles, nothing. Do it all in your head. Because if it's a 3 or 4 move combination, you have to see it all in your head. And if you could get a good puzzle where things change because of the moves that were made, and then you're like, well, that doesn't work because, they could just take me off. No, they can't just take me off because they moved a pawn into that square. That's all forcing you to learn to visualize better. And when people talk about visualization, I think we don't always understand. What it's about is being able to do the calculations in your head. Because when you sit down and play a real game over the board, you can't touch the pieces, you can't draw arrows, and you can't draw circles. So that's why you want to visualize. You want to be able to visualize what the board will look like after 3, 4, 5 moves. How will the board look? My other secret, my fun secret I'm looking for a prodigy. So I teach my kids how to play.
Why haven't you told me that 20 years ago?
Because I didn't know you.
But you may have called me. You might have called me, right?
Right. I would have tested you. And if you pass this test, which by the way, it's just me. I don't know. It's not a scientific test. So my test is pretty simple. I put my kids at the board, and I teach. By the way, you were asking me about teaching. So when I teach in real life, I teach endgames first, and not endgames as a whole. But I start you off with nothing but pawns on the board, and I can't do that online, so I have to add the king. But in real life, I start you off with nothing but pawns. And the first person to get a pawn to the other side wins. So you learn about en passant, you learn about moving 2 squares at the beginning. You're welcome, Montague. You learn all these things about pawns and about promotion just by playing a game that we call pawns. Now, online, I had to do it over COVID. I had to use the kings.
Yeah.
All right, so now that you've learned pawns, then we add the kings usually, and then we say now not only do you have to get a pawn to the other side, but you have to checkmate your opponent. You have to win the game. So now I teach them basic checkmates with a queen and a king because they all make queens, right? All right,
Right.
and then they learn stalemate because of that. And then we start adding pieces slowly. So we'll
Mm-hmm.
add a king and a bishop against a king and a bishop. We'll add two bishops. We'll add a knight and a king. And we go through this all the way. So they're learning piece by piece how to play. So one of the things that I teach them is king. I put the king on e1. I put a pawn on e2 and the other king on e8. And that's the only pieces on the board. It's about opposition.
Yeah.
And I say, white, go win this game. Invariably, my students do it wrong. They push the pawn, and then they chase the pawn. They lose opposition. And by the way, they're doing it against me.
Yeah.
They might beat each other because they both don't know what they're doing, right? I've had players that take their black king and run it all the way over to the H file or something while the pawn queens, But so I play black, and I try to stop them. Now I shouldn't be able to. They should win, but they don't. I draw. I all I do is play them, and I do this against them. Then I say, okay, let's switch colors. I take white, and I invariably win, like I should. And I use the proper technique. I explain nothing. I say, let's switch one more time. And I give them white again. And that's the test. If they can take playing against me, seeing how I beat them, if they can then apply what they saw was used against them, I figure I got a prodigy on my hands. Because
Yeah.
no one's passed this test yet.
Wow.
Not
Pretty
one of my
impressive.
kids. Not one of my
Pretty
kids.
impressive.
Chess Wizard is one of my kids. I think he already
Uh-huh.
knew some, but not even Chess Wizard. None of them passed this test where, and it doesn't have to be that. It's any time that you can show a technique, don't explain the technique, demonstrate the
Just play
technique,
on.
and have them assimilate it, understand it, and then
Mhm.
turn it back and use it against you next time.
Yeah.
That is what that I think would tell me that somebody is a prodigy because they're getting much more out of this than I didn't give them any information. I just let them see it happen to them. So that's my joy.
Yes, they extracted the rules with the demonstration, right?
Yep.
Okay, let's talk about another thing that you just pop up, that it is the puzzles, because of course we are just spinning around all of these things, but puzzles are one of the simplest way to get better at chess. I mean, especially tactical puzzles, right? Because this is what most people think about when we are calling them puzzles. What do you think about the puzzles? Are they, let's say, beneficial? Are they not? And what is the best way to use this puzzle to get better at chess, especially tactical, right? Because it's the biggest of the, let's say, application. And do you think that it is better to solve puzzles from the website or from the screen, or maybe to put it on the real board? And what is the difference between two approaches?
Okay. So we've gone for 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I've got a hard stop at like 10 minutes from now.
Okay.
So I will quickly answer this question. If we have time, I want to show you this game.
Yeah, we can have time.
Which you probably already know this game, by the way. You'll go,
Okay.
I know that game, but I just want to share it with you, and there's a reason. But okay, real quick, puzzles. So I believe Hikaru Nakamura said the best way to improve is to do puzzles. I believe he said that. I thought I saw that quote. Puzzles are great. Puzzles are free. You can get them on Lichess. You can get them by topic and by theme, and I have my students use them all the time. Puzzles are very good. I love doing puzzles on paper or in a book and use them on my chessboard. I think it's better if you're trying to get better at over-the-board chess, do the puzzles over the board. If you're trying to get better at online chess, then feel free to do your puzzles fully online. So I think both work. But there's an inherent problem with a puzzle. It's that you know it's a puzzle, and you know you're supposed to find a winning move. And the problem is then taking that knowledge that you learned from the puzzle and applying it in a game. So again, we're back to application. So if I show you puzzles for back rank mates, you're going to find back rank mates in your game, I have no doubt. You'll find those. If I show you puzzles for smothered mates, you're going to find smothered mates over the board in your games, I have no doubt. But there are other more subtle puzzles, right? The higher level puzzles, because those are the low level puzzles. You get to the high level puzzles, and they're much less obvious. It's not a checkmate in one. It's not a checkmate in two. It might not even be a checkmate at all. Those puzzles are harder to take that learning that you did and apply it. So they're all good. I'm not saying they're not. I'm saying they're great. Use them, but don't rely on them only. And the problem is that you need to be able in your game have a spidey sense that this is I call it a puzzle-worthy moment. The way the board is right now, the way the situation, the position on the board, I feel like I'm looking at a puzzle. I could be looking at a puzzle. There could be a win here. And then you can use your normal puzzle solving skills to find the right move and win the game. But if you don't realize that it's a puzzle worthy moment, you just keep playing. And the biggest problem I see is that for beginners, is that my opponent makes a move, I only react to that move. I'm like, oh, he's attacking. He's attacking these things. Okay, I can take him. I can run away. I can interpose. I can defend, or I can attack something of greater value. Oh no, oh no, oh no. If I were to have turned around and not look at a move, not see the move happen, turn back around and say, okay, somebody says this is a puzzle, solve it. And I could just look at the whole board. I can identify the threats that that person made, because it would be on the board, but I'd also see other threats, and I'd see opportunities, and I could solve the puzzle of my game. But instead, we get locked into this last move or a plan. I don't know how many times people tell me, yeah, but I've been wanting to get this skewer, this fork, or this pin I've been planning on all this time, and they get obsessed with it and forgetting that the board has changed. So puzzles are great, especially for pattern recognition. They're great. But the deeper we go, when you get into the bigger puzzles, when you really want to learn and get better, the negative to the puzzles is you know it's a puzzle. So you want to find these puzzle-worthy moments in your games, and that's the key. If you could identify, because of undefended pieces, open lines, development disparity, imbalances, that I should have a puzzle-worthy moment here, then you will hopefully find great moves. And those puzzles that you've been doing will help you because you'll know how to solve a puzzle. So that's how I feel about. I do love puzzles. They're great, but I feel people over rely on them, and there's that for us as coaches. You know, it's nice that I could go send you off to do puzzles, but the key is, can I get you to see the puzzle-worthy moment in your actual games? Because you know they just press on. I watched Jerpuff the other day, and she was playing games, and I've seen her do puzzles, and she does pretty good at puzzles. But then in the games, I'm like, wow, that's a puzzle. She didn't solve it. She just played. Oh, there's another. She didn't solve that puzzle either. She just played, and she's missing moves because she doesn't realize she should be finding the answer to a puzzle.
Yeah, great. And now let me know, my friend, if we can make such a deal. We'll be making something like 3 to 5 minutes break, and after that you will be getting something like 20 minutes to present the ideas on the board, whatever ideas you wish. For example, a game fragment, a position, whatever you wish. For the explanation, because I want others, just 20 minutes, no more than that. After the 3 to 5 minutes break.
No, we're not communicating. I'm at 4:16. At 4:30, I have to be in my car.
Okay. How much minute do you have from this point? 4 minutes?
That's what I was saying. I had a total of 10 minutes to.
Oh God!
That gives me 10 minutes to get dressed and you know.
No. I understand fully, because I thought you want to have a break for 4 minutes, and after that present the ideas with 30 minutes. But it's absolutely okay. Okay, therefore, just one more last question, because if we have just 4 minutes, we'll just finish it up and round it up with you. After that, I'll just address some of these questions in your behalf, because probably we will have the same approach. What kind of, let's say, message would you like to share to the players who would like to get better? What should they do and what should they avoid in a very comprehensive guide? To start with,
just go back and watch the beginning of this stream, because we covered those questions earlier. Basically, you want to play, and you need to do some study. Good friend Tony, Why Not Chess? I asked him what's the ratio. He says he's a stronger player than me. I love listening to other people's advice. And he says at least 50-50. So if you spend 3 hours of playing chess, you should spend at least 3 hours of studying chess. Also, give yourself a break. Unless you're planning to be a professional, unless you're planning to put in 5 to 8 hours a day, give yourself a break. Just enjoy chess, right? You want to get better, but make sure you're enjoying yourself also. And then to get better, start learning principles and stop memorizing opening lines. Study the principles. Learn the principles. Tons of books out there, tons of people like ThinkerTeacher and I who would happily share with you anything, and we'll share knowledge with you, and we'll give you principles for you to work on. You don't have to have a full-time coach. You can get a coaching lesson. I know I do them. I know ThinkerTeacher does them. Others do them. P-Flight does them for people under 1,000. P-Flight's a great resource for that. Bizarbra does them also. I mean, there's a lot of us streamers in the streamers community team that are have the souls of teachers. So lean on us, right? Find somebody to give you some insights. But basically, you need to look at how to improve based on principles, not on memorizing openings. And so when somebody comes to me and say, I want to get better, I want to learn this opening, I go, great, let's get better, and forget about learning that opening right now, because the opening isn't going to get you better. The opening is going to give you better results, but that's not making you a better chess player. But if you become a better chess player, then you can play that. By the way, one of my sayings, and you're free to use it, just give me credit on your, is that I'm not good enough, and neither are you. I'm not a good enough chess player, and neither are you to make bad moves.
Yeah,
Right?
that's very, very, very great. Okay, thank you very much, my friend. I am super grateful that you accepted the invitation. I am that much grateful that you waited patiently very, very long, because you're one of the most patient guys that needed to wait for our collaboration to happen. But finally, we have done it. I am super, let's say, happy about it. And I am super grateful that you shared a lot of great insight, a lot of knowledge, and probably next year, because now the year is beginning to the end, probably next year we'll do something like a continuation of the, let's say, a series about the teaching methods, about the learning processes and all of the things, because you're super passionate, you have a huge knowledge, and of course there are a lot of guys who'd like to listen to you for all of this stuff that you shared with us. I'm super grateful for that.
Thank you very much. I didn't know what to totally expect. I think this was nice. I don't mind talking.
It was awesome. I expected you to share all of the things that you would like to share, and believe me, it was a way better than I expected, because it was a little bit spontaneous, but even though it was even better, at least from my perspective.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it that your questions, and I loved that your chat had questions, and that for me was enjoyable. And made me think about some things, like I said, about how much time my students are spending if they want to get better. Thank you, Ratchet. So, yes,
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Always, ever since I saw you stream, I thought it'd be fun for us to collaborate, because we do think alike, and we do both have a passion for teaching and helping others improve. So I'm really excited that we were able to do this. The game I want to share with you was Glucksberg versus Najdorf from 1935, and Najdorf is Polish. And if you know Tartakower, I know you know of Tartakower. At the time, he called this the immortal Polish.
Mm-hmm.
So it's in the study that you have access to. I shared it with you, so I know you'll find it under studies I contribute to. It's the 22nd chapter. It's the last chapter. Just take a look. I just wanted to share with you fun, because I know you being in Poland, assuming you're Polish, it might be a bad assumption, but I thought, he might really appreciate this, and it was a beautiful game.
Yeah, we'll have a look at this game after. We'll just give you, let's say, a break. Thank you very much, Martin, for everything what you have done to us and what you do for the community, because this way we are building the community together and we enrich everybody. Thank you, my friend. Take care and see you next time.
We'll see you next time. Have a great one. Thanks
Have
again.
a great one. Take care. Take care. See you.
All right, guys, that was pretty awesome. Let me close this down, and I'll just say goodbye to you guys real quick. Thank you for the follows, guys. I really appreciate it. It was really nice of you. I couldn't say it on stream only because, we were doing an interview, and it's hard for me to stop talking about one thing to tell you guys thanks for the follows, but thank you very much for the follows. I try to at least put them in chat, the thank yous. Appreciate the follows, especially if it means you'll come back for this kind of content, for learning and learning together. So I've got to go. I do have to really run. I'm glad. Thank you, formerly Auntie. I appreciate it. I really appreciate you guys all the time. Anyway, guys, you're a great community. You make it fun to teach. I love teaching, and you guys are always there, and so I appreciate you. You don't know how much I appreciate you. This is fun for me. This is enjoyable beyond doubt. Quick funny story. I think it's funny. My wife was complaining about my 8 hours a week I'm spending with you guys. She was complaining, and she was complaining to my older daughter, who's now moved out, married, and is pregnant. So I have another grandchild on the way. So she was complaining to my daughter about this situation that, hey, he's always up there, he's always streaming in that room, he's not down here with me, and his other daughter, 8 hours a week, he's doing all this streaming. And my oldest daughter told my wife, hey, his midlife crisis could have been a lot worse. Just think about all the things he could be doing with his time instead of this. This is so good thing if he's going to have his midlife crisis is spent streaming chess. So, yeah, guys. So there you have it. My oldest daughter said, hey, if you're going to do something with your time and you're going to involve in something else, why not this? This is good. All right, guys. Hey, Fintel, thank you for the follow. I'm going to have to make one that's specifically just to say thank you for the follow because that'll just make life easier. But anyway, Busy's online and ThinkerTeacher is online. I'm going to assume most of you guys are already on the stream with ThinkerTeacher. I'm going to assume that. But, I mean, the least we could do is if you're not, we'll rate ThinkerTeacher. So you could go over there. And then hopefully he'll rate somebody like Busy who's online now. All right, guys. It was real. It was fun. It was real fun. I will see you guys later. And don't forget, we have a really good Principle of the Week this week. So take a look at that. All right. Oh, over at Busy? Okay. Well, we'll see you guys later. I got to go play some tennis, guys. Have a good night.